This is one of the most festive, delicious roasts you can make for family and friends, and it's still super easy to do.
Big thanks to Napoleon Grills for sponsoring this episode.
For the roast that I'm going to show you to make today, you're going to need the buffet. I'm talking about this beautiful piece of steak. This thing is absolutely gorgeous and you can mostly get it anywhere. Here we call it a buffet, but you might also call this a flank steak. Now this is a real true flank steak. Look at the beautiful piece of meat that we got. Now this sits at the side of the cow. It's kind of like a working muscle. I'm going to show you how to prepare this beautiful piece of meat and what you can do with it so you can have a delicious flank steak roast. Of course, I'll be putting these on the grill and I'm going to roll it up so we can have a real roast, because now it's more of a steak. I'm going to stuff it with delicious ingredients, and that's what we're going to start with. You see, I really want to turn this into a festive roast that you can share with family and friends. So I'm going to chop fine some parsley, and I'm also going to need some chives. I'm going to chop it up real coarse. I'm going to grind it down fine later. I'm also going to cut up a lemon, a couple of slices of Parmesan cheese, and of course I will be needing a clove of garlic. Can you guess what I'm making? If you guess that I'm making a pesto, then you're right. So everything's got to go into this blender. Parmesan cheese, the clove of garlic, parsley and chives, the juice of half a lemon. I'm also going to add half a cup of walnuts. And I'm going to add some cream cheese to bind it all together. About 2 tablespoons. Of course, I'll have some delicious olive oil to go with it, about 1/4 cup. Now I'm going to blitz it up. See how easy it is to make a homemade pesto? This stuff is so delicious. You don't have to put this in a roast, but it tastes so good in a roast. You can also save a little bit for on the sides. The preparations for the stuffing are now done, so I'm going to set this aside and we can go back to our steak. See, if I roll this up right now, let me show you. Look at how big and thick that's going to be. That is way too big and way too thick. So I'd rather turn this into 2 roasts by just making it a little thinner. You see, there's this part on the muscle there where it becomes thick. It's got to come off completely. So just take a sharp knife, put your hand on top and slice through it. You see, now you have 2 roasts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stuff that roast with the pesto. You already know this is going to be tasty and flavorful because of that pesto. My kids absolutely love this pesto. They put it in anything if they get the chance to. And the cool thing is, if you save a little bit of that pesto, you can put it as a side dish on a little cracker and surprise them with all the effort that they think you put into this, while really all you did was make a pesto and served it in the roast as well as on the side. Of course, I got a little bit of prosciutto to fill it up with, to finish it off. Now this is going to be a proper roast. Of course, we need to roll it up and then tie it up. Therefore, I'm going to use some butcher's twine. Now this is very easy. I'm going to show you how to do it like tying your shoes. So you also don't have to worry about not being able to do that. See, stretch it a little bit, then start rolling it up. There we go. That is one nice roast. Go underneath, and then in this case I'm doing the center one first. Now, you got your rope. Now you're going to do this just like with your shoes, except you're going to go 3 times underneath and then make your first knot, and then do a knot in the opposite direction. So the same knot except in the opposite direction. Now it will never come undone again. Cut off the rest and do a couple more of these, and then your roast is all tied up. See how easy that is? So don't worry about that being hard or you're not experienced enough to do that. Some people trying to make this look very, very difficult. It's really not. Look at that, super easy to do at home. Beautiful roast. You can put this in your oven, but that will be a shame. And don't worry, you can also do it on a barbecue. Now that is of course what we are going to do. I'm going to show you the method that's going to give you perfect results every time. What you need to do is get a barbecue. In my case, I'm using a gas barbecue, but you can use a charcoal barbecue just as well. All you need to make sure is that you have a direct side and an indirect side. I'm going to open up my gas grill, turn on the burners on the direct side, and I'm going to turn them down to half power. That's going to give me a temperature of around 120 degrees Celsius at the top level. So I'm placing my roast here, opposites of where the heat is. I'm going to close the lid. I'm going to keep my eye on that temperature in the lid. And when that says 120 degrees Celsius or 240 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm going to dial it in by using the knobs. I'm going to make sure that I get the perfect temperature. If you're using a charcoal grill, I like to set it up with an indirect heat using bricks and then putting briquettes behind that. I'm going to light it up on one side, put a couple of chunks of smoke wood in, open up the top vent all the way, close the bottom vent and tune it down until you get that same 120 degrees Celsius and 240 degrees Fahrenheit. Now if you're doing this, I recommend getting a thermometer, like a thermometer like this, that will just let you know what the core temperature is on your roast. Because I want to cook this roast to a core temperature of 54 degrees Celsius. Now that's going to take a little bit of time. It's still really cold. I'm estimating about 5 degrees Celsius. So that's going to slowly come up to temperature, but it's going to take at least an hour. The roast is starting to warm up, and in the meantime, I want to make something delicious to go with that roast. Something easy, but very, very delicious. I'm going to warm up this pan. Take some bacon, get that rind off, and then I'm going to cut this into strips. And you know that if the recipe starts with bacon, you're probably in a good spot. In the meantime, I'm also going to chop fine some oyster mushrooms. You can go as fine or as thick as you like. I'm going to go for a bit chunky because that's going to give some texture and some coarseness to this dish. In the meantime, I'm going to be frying this bacon so it lets go of all of its fat and that renders down, giving you that crispy bacon. When the bacon starts browning and the fat renders down, it's time to add the mushrooms. And those are going to soak up all the fat of the bacon and of course all the flavor. For flavor, I'm also going to add a tablespoon of the pesto. In about 4 minutes, the mushroom turns soft, soaked up all the flavors of the bacon. And then it's time to take it out. As you can see, this pan is now brown and it looks a little bit dirty, but it really is not because that is all flavor. Now I'm going to add 50 grams of butter to it and I'm going to let that melt. And once the butter stops bubbling, I'm just going to add a little bit of flour to it. About half the amount of flour that I used to compare to the butter. Now I'm basically frying the flour just to make sure that it is really cooked through and through because there's nothing worse than a taste of raw flour. Now I'm going to deglaze it with a splash of cognac. To be honest, you can also use some beer instead. Save you some money and it will taste great too. Now back in goes the mushrooms and the bacon. I'm gonna stir that up, making sure that crust really lets go and we get a nice dark brown substance. Then in goes some high quality beef fond. This is about half a liter and this now goes back on the fire and I'm going to let that come up to a simmer. And then finally, once you get that core temperature, then you just lay it on the board. Look at that. It already looks like a masterpiece, but we're not even done. But I'm just going to let this rest while in the meantime we are going to convert the gas grill into a charcoal grill. All I need to do is take the grill grates out, the heat deflectors out, put in a charcoal tray, load it up with charcoal, and then wait until the charcoal is lit. In total, that took about 10 minutes, which is more than sufficient to cool down the cooking process in our beautiful roast. The whole idea behind it is that you get a perfect cook inside your roast and a really good crust on the outside. So all I need to do now is put this on the grill and start searing for that beautiful Maillard effect. Once I got that good sear, it's time to take it off, put it back on the plank. Can we take a moment please to appreciate how beautiful this is? And this is a simple roast. It's easy to do. You can make this at home in maybe an hour. Of course it's going to take some time, but hey, if you prepare it in the morning, you can set it in the fridge, and once you're ready to start cooking, all you need is an hour to do it. Of course, you gotta fire up the grill and you gotta preheat it, so you gotta take that time into consideration, so maybe an hour and a half, but that's it. You're gonna end up with a delicious roast with a side dish of pesto that you can use, and of course, I'll be putting on that delicious sauce that we made. I would not trade it for any roast in the world. Let's slice into it, take a look inside. Did we get that perfect cooked meat? Oh, I think so. If you serve this up to your guests, they're going to be mind blown by your mad barbecue skills. Grandma ain't going to top this. This is as good as it gets. Let's plate this up. Get a couple of slices out. Can you imagine getting this on your plate during that holiday season? Thanksgiving, Christmas, it doesn't matter. You can do this always. It could be Easter. It could be New Year's. If you got friends and family coming over, this is the one. This is the one. All right, now for a quick taste test. A little bit of steak, bacon, mushrooms. Honestly, to me, it doesn't get any better than this. This is so delicious. I wish you were here to taste it. See you guys in the next one. Cheers. Oh, the recipe, of course, is on our website, PITMASTERX.com.